Hey guys, it's Nailbiter, and I've got another Battlefield 3 commentary here for you guys. And in this video I'm going to be using the 870 pump action shotgun, and I've got the Flechette rounds attached to it this time because some people had asked me to do a video about the differences between using Flechette ammo, or the Flechette rounds, and the Buckshot rounds. And so I tried it out for a couple of rounds, or for a couple of games a couple of days ago. And I was actually pretty surprised at how much of a difference there was between using Buckshot and Flechette, at least for the 870, because I had done a video last week where I attached the Flechette rounds to the MK3A1, which is the semi-automatic shotgun that you unlock in the Back to Karkin expansion. And when I was using that setup, I didn't notice very much difference, or I didn't notice that much of a difference between the Flechette rounds and Buckshot rounds on that gun. And so I wasn't really expecting to notice too much of a difference between using Buckshot and Flechette on the 870, but I actually thought that there was quite a big difference. And you know, especially as you'll notice throughout this video, one thing that I'm doing slightly differently in this gameplay as opposed to the previous shotgun gameplays that I've posted is that I tend to aim down sights a little bit more often. And the reason I'm doing that is because the added bonuses when you're using the Flechette rounds, or at least from what I noticed with this setup, the added bonuses are really incredible when you aim down sights, because first of all, you're going to be able to do damage at a considerable distance, and so if you're able to be accurate, you can two-shot somebody with the Flechette rounds at a pretty good range. I was actually pretty surprised at the amount of, or at the distance that I could, deal pretty good damage on enemies with the Flechette rounds. And the other reason that you want to aim down sights when you're using Flechette rounds more often is because it has a decreased damage potential, and that's probably the only case where Buckshot is a little bit better than Flechette rounds. If you're hip firing a lot, it's going to be it's going to have a better chance at dealing damage to the enemies you shoot at. Whereas Flechette, with Flechette, you have to be a little more precise in your aiming and your accuracy. But if you aim down sight, to a certain extent, you can negate that reduced damage potential that Flechette rounds have as compared to the Buckshot rounds. And the only negative really to ADSing more, or aiming down sights more often, is that it kind of reduces your mobility a little bit. You won't be able to just strafe as fast back and forth while you're shooting, which is something that I usually like to do when I'm using a shotgun. But I didn't find that was too big a deal once I sort of started to try to aim down sights more often. I found that not being able to strafe wasn't as significant or as important as I had initially thought it was. So, I think it's definitely worthwhile, and on almost every situation, I would say Flechette rounds are probably going to be better than Buckshot rounds. And they really make using a shotgun, they allow you to be more versatile if you do want to use a shotgun. Whereas previously I had thought of shotguns as being a pretty restricted option, that you were only really restricted to close quarters engagements. But with Flechette rounds, you can really engage targets that are pretty far away from you, and at least in my opinion, it makes using a shotgun on some of those larger maps, sort of more open vehicle heavy maps, it makes using a shotgun on those maps a little more viable, I think. So this is definitely a worthwhile setup, I would say. I think the only situation where Buckshot rounds are going to be better than Flechette rounds is at really, really close ranges, almost point-blank range, just because in those situations it can be really easy to miss a shot, or to be kind of off with your shot if you're using a shotgun, or if you're just trying to hip fire. And in those situations also probably take too long to aim down sights, and so in that case it would be better to have the Buckshot rounds, because it's going to do more damage, or it has a better damage potential, and you don't really need to aim as precisely as you do if you're hip firing when you're using Flechette ammo. But other than that, I think that Flechette rounds are definitely the way to go, especially when you're using the 870 shotgun. I think maybe with a semi-automatic shotgun, as I kind of alluded to earlier, the difference isn't as noticeable, but I would still say Flechette rounds are probably going to be more helpful, and again, it's going to make you a more versatile player if you're going to be using a shotgun. And so I'd say Flechette rounds are probably what I'd recommend using. I mean, that's not to say that Buckshot is a bad option by any means. You're still going to be able to have success with those rounds. You just might have to be a little bit more careful and a little more tactical in the way that you approach your encounters. But I mean, you're going to have to do that anyways, just because you're using a shotgun. And you're not going to be able to engage targets with a shotgun as you are if you're using an assault rifle or even one of the engineered weapons like a carbine or an SMG. So anyways, this gameplay is just about finished, and for this last minute, I just wanted to quickly say that I'm probably not going to be doing too many more, or if any at all, shotgun gameplay commentaries for the next couple months, just because I think I've covered most of the different options that you have for using a shotgun. I've talked about just using shotguns in general, and with buckshot and with Flechette rounds and with slugs. And I don't really want to do anything with the frag rounds. I'm kind of against that whole USAS with frag rounds play style, and so I'm probably not going to be using that at all. But I did hear that one of the new weapons in the DLC, the close quarters DLC that's coming out in June, is going to be the Spaz 12. And so when that comes out, and we might even get another shotgun besides that. So when that DLC comes out, and I will be getting the DLC, even though I think the maps themselves could be a little bit hit or miss, but I will be getting the DLC, and so when that comes out and I unlock the Spaz 12, I'll definitely be posting gameplay with that. So anyways, this gameplay is just about finished. Hope you guys enjoyed the commentary, and thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.